Hey guys, it's Gwen. If you love what you hear, there are a few ways you can help us during Season 2. First, don't forget to subscribe to the Fresh Fiction Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts, or any of your other favorite podcast apps. Rating, reviewing, and sharing the podcast with your friends helps us out more than you'll ever know. Sharing is caring, as they say. You can also find me on Twitter and Instagram as Real Vixen. Welcome back to the Fresh Fiction Podcast. Today I'm joined by author Denise Swanson, whose newest mystery, Dye Me a River, is the second in her Welcome Back to Scumble River series. In Dye Me a River, Scumble River school psychologist Skye Denison-Boyd is captivated by the body discovered in a local bowling alley. Everyone in the town has a reason to want Paige Myler dead. She's the representative of the insurance company many residents are suing for the following the tornado in the previous book, which then makes everyone a suspect. I'm thrilled to welcome Denise Swanson to the podcast. Hi, Denise.
Hi, Gwen.
Hi. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I know that every minute is a very important minute to an author, so I very much appreciate it.
Oh, I thank you so much for inviting me.
So, Denise, for our listeners, do you mind telling us a little bit about yourself and how you started writing?
Well, I actually wrote my first book when I was in kindergarten.
Really?
I am an only child, and I grew up in the country on a farm, and I had nothing else to do. So my mom taught me to read before I went to kindergarten, and by the time I went to kindergarten, already reading, the teacher really didn't know what to do with me. So she put me in the back of the room, and she said, "Amuse yourself."
Really?
It's never a good thing to tell a 5-year-old.
Nope, it is not.
Or a 6-year-old. I think I was 6. So I looked around the room and I saw all these books, and I loved books, and I thought, I will write my own alphabet book. So I did. And around Thanksgiving, I finished it up, and I brought it up to the teacher, and I said, "Mrs. Sullivan, look what I did." And she got this really weird look on her face, and she flipped through the tablet that I had used, and she said, "You've used up your whole tablet. What are you going to use for the rest of the year?"
Oh, no.
My first bad review.
I think that was her way of saying you were too wordy.
I think so, yeah. My first editor.
Your first editor. That is so crazy. That's wild.
So I really, put the thought aside of writing it for a while. But then in junior high, I was reading a lot of very sweet romances back then. The Harlequins, they barely kissed, let alone anything else. And I just thought they were super unrealistic considering what some of my classmates were doing.
Right.
So I started writing my own romance, and the teacher caught me, because they always do.
Yep.
And she said, if you're going to do this, you have to do this you have to read it to the whole class. And thinking, well, okay. And I was in the middle of writing a love scene, and when I started reading about the French kiss, she yanked me out of class and sent me to the principal.
That is so funny. That is straight out of a rom-com, like a kid's book.
Yeah, except I didn't get the handsome hero.
No.
Principal and my dad, who was not happy with me. So my second bad review.
Mm-hmm. I see a trend.
So then I decided writing was probably not a good idea. Every time I did, I got in trouble. So I did not try to write again until I was nearly 40 years old.
Oh, wow. Did you really feel like a lot of it was from those residual early days, or was it just that you were doing other things?
Well, a little of both. I mean, I think if I would have been encouraged, the teachers would have been like, "Wow, that's so nice. You should keep this up." I would have. Mm-hmm. But, without that encouragement, and, to be fair, back in the day, if you were going to go to college, you really should go for something that could earn you a living.
Sure.
Not, liberal arts. So it was probably a combination of the two.
I see. So then what inspired you when you were 40 to start writing again?
Well, I'd been working as a school psychologist, and I discovered some really bad things going on in one of the school systems that I was working in, and I ended up having to quit that job in, I would say, March or April. And I knew I would never get another job in the school system until the following August when school started again. So I had 3 or 4 months where I was just going to have nothing to do. And at first I thought I would just, go out to lunch, go shopping, see my
Be a lady
friends.
of leisure.
And that lasted about a week and a half, and then I was bored. So I just sat down, and I'm like, well, I really love to read. I've been keeping notes for, 20 years on all the funny things that have happened to me and characters I've met. I'm going to try and write a book. So that's what I did.
Your first book came out in 2000. How long between when you first started writing to getting that first publishing deal?
It took a long time. I would say took me probably about 3 years to find an agent.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I had roughly 270 rejection letters.
I'm seeing a trend. You're very resilient. I love this.
I have a little plaque on my wall, and I used to use it with the kids I would counsel in school, and I realized it applied to me too, and it said, it's not how good you are, it's how bad you want it. So I just kept sending them out. I was getting very discouraged, but when I was about to quit, my husband said to me, okay, what happens if you don't send the next batch of query letters out? And I'm like, well, I quit. I'm never going to get published. And he said, and what happens if you do? And I said, well, I'll probably get rejection. He said, yeah, but you said probably.
Oh.
Oh.
That's so sweet.
And then it took the agent that I finally got about 18 months to get me published.
Okay. So then from then it kind of snowballed, which was good.
Yeah, once we found the right home, and a lot of it, you hate to admit it, but a lot of it is luck.
Of course.
Once we found the right editor who, had the right list going, who had the opening, and who liked my voice, she signed me up for a 3-book deal right away. So, from then on, I was just under contract from, the year 1999 on.
Yeah, that's great. And so, 19 years later, it's a good place to be.
Yeah.
So I'm curious for you, because you said, you wrote your alphabet book when you were in kindergarten, and then you had your junior high romance that got you into a lot of hot water. What made you decide that mysteries were your bag? Because I know you've also, in the last few years, you wrote a romance, but you've pretty much stuck to the mystery genre.
Well, I really love both genres.
Mm-hmm.
I love my mysteries, but I love my romances too. And I think, again, it's sort of fate or happenstance, or, I managed to find an agent for the mystery. She, sold the book, and it did a lot better than anyone was expecting it to. Mm-hmm. And from then on, you're just sort of in that cycle. I had a 3-book contract, and then almost right away they offered me another contract because the first book did really well. And, it just snowballed.
Yeah.
But I always had been in the whenever I had a few weeks between having to, be writing on contracts, I would go back and I would, work on my romances. So, ideally I'd like to split my time evenly, write a romance and a mystery, mystery, romance. Mm-hmm. But, since I'm putting those out by myself, I don't have the kind of deadline I have with the mystery.
Sure, yeah, that makes it definitely a little bit more challenging to get those done when you're like, well, I have all these other ones that are under contract.
Yeah, that somebody is, emailing me going, So how's it going?
Yeah. Do you find a lot of similarities or differences between the two genres?
I really think there is more similarity than people think with the two genres. Almost every mystery, even the really dark ones, have a tiny bit of romance in them if you think about it.
For sure.
And the cozies, which what I write, usually have a ton of romance in them. Usually the relationship is a very important part of those books. So, it's just, and then if you look at romances, they don't usually have a murder in them, although is romantic suspense, but there's usually some mystery that the characters have to solve to get their happily ever after. So, in the mystery side, you're putting in the clues to help the sleuth solve the murder, and in the romance, you're putting in the clues to help the hero and the heroine get to their happily ever after.
Yeah, and I think that those are definitely, they both also just have so much character. They're also so character driven, which is really great too.
Right, and that's my where I shine is I am much more a character driven author and reader than I am a plot driven author.
You've had 3 mystery series. This is your 3rd one. What was it about coming back to Scumble versus going and maybe doing a reboot of your Devereaux series?
Well, just, business-wise, the Scumble River was a lot more wildly popular.
Yeah, it was a success, absolutely. Yeah.
It had a lot more backstory. The readers had been with Skye and the gang for a lot longer. And, and I had been a school psychologist, so I still had a lot of stories to tell that I hadn't even touched the iceberg on that. So I think that was it. The dinosaur books were more of a stretch for me. They certainly had their fans. I still almost daily get either a Facebook message or email from a reader saying, when is the next dinosaur book coming out?
Oh, that's sweet.
So I may go back to that. I may see if I can sell it to a publisher, or I may just self-publish that, which, takes a lot of pressure off me because then it's not another deadline. It's a big risk, and I think people should, readers and I know writers understand this, but really thank a lot of these publishers who have, stepped into the breach after Penguin Random House decided to, get rid of most of their cozy line, picked up these books, and especially picked up the series. Everybody wants a new series. Could have probably gone to 5 different publishers if I wanted to just write a new series. We should just be very grateful to these publishers, who have, like Source Books for me and, some of the others. I know Kensington has picked up a lot and a few of the others. So that these stories could be continued because we always had the readers. It wasn't like our readership had fallen off. It was purely some kind of business decision that I didn't quite understand.
Yeah. I remember when that happened the last 2 years ago, and there were so many authors who were displaced from it, and it was so unfortunate because it's like there are numbers, and I have a reader community that I meet with every single week, and a majority of them read cozies and they read romances and they read, it's just everything. And so it was a very big surprise for us as well as readers to see sort of a huge name in the industry sort of saying, no, we're done.
Yeah, it was a shock to everybody. I had a little warning because they had come to me and asked me if I would be willing to go into hardcover with the Scumble Rivers, and because that's all they were going to keep were the hardcover line. Mm-hmm. And I just didn't feel like it was fair to, as you said, I have a huge backlist. At that time I had 19 books in that series. So suddenly I'm going to say to my readers, okay, you've been great to me. You've supported me through 19 books. But now instead of having the book for $8, I'm going to charge it $25.
Yeah. Oof.
And that felt, morally it felt wrong to me, and it just felt wrong on a business sense, too, that, these people aren't going to be able to afford that. They'll still probably read them, but they're going to wait either for the paperback to come out or just start getting them from the library, which is fine, but, not good for growing my numbers.
Well, let's jump in and talk a little bit about Daimia River, which just came out on September 4th. And then, like we said, this is the second in this new spin-off series. And I'm curious for you, having done, now it's 21 books in this world, how do you keep Skye's adventure sort of interesting for, not only for her, but for you as well?
I thought about that a lot, and I especially thought about it before I agreed to continue this series.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think is beneficial for me and for my readers is that Skye continually changes. Her character is always on a growth arc. She came, in the first book, she came back to town pretty much with her tail between her legs, having been, kicked almost as low as you can go. And with every book, she's grown stronger, and her relationships have grown stronger, and she's mended a lot of relationships. Her relationship with her mother has evolved. Her feelings about herself have evolved. And she has had significant life milestones. She's dated, she's been engaged, she's gotten married, now she's had babies. It's a different, it may be the same world, but it's definitely a different part of that world every time I go back to it.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that you've now given her these two children, so she's got to kind of juggle a very, very personal life and her interest in sort of being involved with all of these. I would be like, let's move out of Scumble. There's way too many murders happening here, but Skye seems to always find herself in the middle of these situations.
Well, that's the one really hard part about writing an amateur sleuth book is having any kind of believability for them to keep getting involved in these murders. And that was why, I can't remember which book I did it in, but a few books back, I had the police department actually hire her as a consultant because I figured otherwise it stretches my credibility.
Absolutely. That was very important. Well, so Denise, before I let you go, I have one question for you. It's kind of, we talk about on the podcast what we're watching, what we're reading, and what we're listening to. Because I know as a writer, you probably still love reading and love stories in all different forms. So I'm curious if you have any recommendations for us.
Well, one of my favorite authors, and I will, just admit, also one of my best friends, Heather Blake, just had a book come out, To Catch a Witch. So now that I'm just turned in my last mystery, I can now go back to reading mysteries. So I've got that one on my Kindle fired up and ready for me to start this afternoon.
Oh, perfect.
When I'm writing mysteries, that's when I read romance. But now I have a romance coming out in November, so I'm switching gears.
That's interesting. I've talked to a few authors who can read in their genre while they're writing, but the majority are like you and like to not to read their genre while they're writing. Is there a particular reason that you like to avoid mystery while you're writing mystery and romance while you're writing romance?
Well, I think, one, you just don't want to accidentally copy somebody. Mm-hmm. And it sticks in your head and you don't even realize it has stuck in your head. And two, and this may not just be me, but I only read authors who I think are really good at their craft as authors. And the ones that are really good, I'll get about halfway through and I'll be like, wow, she is so much better writer than I am. I couldn't even
something to aspire to.
Yeah, so part of it is just the self-confidence. So that's why it's like, okay, once I'm writing in the other genre, I can handle it better.
That's funny. It makes a lot of sense.
And, as for television, I hate to admit this almost, but I'm a reality TV junkie.
Girl, my favorite. Which ones are you watching right now?
Right now it's Big Brother, which is driving me crazy. Every one of those contestants needs a psych exam.
Of course. And they probably get one to get on the show, and they're like, man, that'll be fun.
A couple of them, I don't see how they could have passed.
Oh, my goodness.
One truly worries me a little bit.
It's very nerve-wracking when you watch them, especially in those shows where they're fishbowl like that, and you, as an audience member, have such perspective that they don't really have because they're living it.
Yeah, and they don't know what these people are like behind the mask. Mm-hmm. I always say I watch these reality shows to get characters for my books. That's my excuse anyway.
Oh, that's a good excuse. I always say it's a palate cleanser.
A new one. I don't know if you've seen that, The Castaway.
No, I haven't seen Castaway. I've heard about it, though.
Sort of like a Survivor, only I don't think there's any winner. I think it's just, what these people go through, now that they've been marooned.
Yeah, and we just follow them for episodes.
Yeah.
And then, go ahead.
Pretty much my TV. I don't watch a lot of TV, and Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy, and the reality.
It's because you're spending so much time using your brain. You need to, get new characters and make sure your trivia is on point.
That's right.
That's awesome. Well, Denise, thank you so much for giving me your time today. I want to make sure that our listeners have a chance to stay in touch with you and learn more about you. So how can they find out more information about you?
Well, I have a website. It's www.deniseswanson.com. I'm also very active on Facebook. And although I have an author page, Facebook, as you know, doesn't always let you see all the posts. So I also have a group that I would encourage any of my readers who want to participate and ask me questions. And I do a Tuesday treat, so I do a giveaway every week to come over to that group, which is called Denise Swanson's Mysteries, Romances, and More.
That's a very mouthy name.
Yeah, it is. That's why I had to take a big breath. I'm on Twitter, but I will admit I'm not really good about that.
Yeah, Facebook's the place for you.
Yeah, Facebook is the place to find me.
Great. Well, Denise, thank you so much. And like we said, Daimia River is available now. You can buy it anywhere books are sold, online and in stores. Denise Swanson, thank you so much, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Hey guys, it's Gwen. If you love what you hear, there are a few ways you can help us during season 2. First, don't forget to subscribe to the Fresh Fiction Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts, or any of your other favorite podcast apps. Rating, reviewing, and sharing the podcast with your friends helps us out more than you'll ever know. Sharing is caring, as they say. You can also find me on Twitter and Instagram as Real Vixen.